Welcome world, I suppose, to this very powerful conversation. Is the second in the series of the Africa Business Heroes webinars, with the essence of looking at how quickly entrepreneurs have to adapt. COVID-19 is here. The coronavirus is causing the kind of havoc it is right now. A lot of people might stop because this may derail them, and this may throw them off their business strategies and plans, and everybody has to literally rethink their business strategy. And that's how we're having a conversation this morning or afternoon or evening, depending on where you are, with a focus on digital action for our entrepreneurs as we all face the coronavirus, or I would like to call it COVID-19 pandemic. But it's easy, very easy to assume that everything is literally condemned. But let's look at the glass a little half empty. With a little bit of re-strategy, with a little bit of replanning and changing the way we do business, we might not just win over the pandemic, we might win as business owners. And this is why I'm so glad that we're able to have this conversation. But allow me to bring on the programs and partnerships manager of the ANPI to this conversation. Zara, I guess this is really our new normal.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your introduction, Anita. Like you said, this is truly our new normal. However, we think that with crisis comes the opportunity to innovate. And so the African Entrepreneur Prize Initiative, which is the Jack Ma Foundation's flagship philanthropic entrepreneur program in Africa, is really excited to be launching this webinar series. We hosted our first one yesterday on the hybrid entrepreneur, and today we have a webinar on digital action for entrepreneurs in the age of COVID-19, which is in collaboration with the Alibaba Global Initiatives and Alibaba Business School. As an initiative, we believe that it is really important for entrepreneurs to rise to the challenge. AMPI is an organization that looks for heroes. Our hashtag is looking for heroes, because we believe that entrepreneurs are the potential solution to many of the challenges we face, and they're called on to take on great responsibility. And the Alibaba Global Initiatives has put together a really phenomenal manual on things that entrepreneurs can be doing in this moment to create change and provide value to their community. And so we're excited to have them on board today to share with us their insights from the Alibaba ecosystem, what Alibaba's businesses are doing, as well as the group of businesses that are connected to Alibaba, and to hopefully motivate and inspire all of you to see this crisis as an opportunity to innovate. And so with that, let me turn it over to Brian Wong, who is the Vice President of Alibaba Global Initiatives, to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zara, and thank you, Anita. And a big thank you to the Jack Ma Foundation and the AMPI team for this opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian Wong. I'm from the Alibaba Global Initiatives team. We're part of the Alibaba Business School. I've been asked today to share with all of you some of the insights that we have gathered from this recent project that we launched called the Digital Action for Entrepreneurs in the Age of COVID guide for digital entrepreneurs to learn some of the lessons that we've gathered from our experience in dealing with this crisis, which we as a global community are all facing today. So I'm going to kick this off with
Brian. I think we may have lost Brian.
Well, I guess, yeah, well, that's the other thing about technology, that we all have to kind of get used to, more or less, acting really quickly and acting really fast, right, Zara? Because we are having cross-continental conversations. So I believe that, is Brian back?
Can you guys hear me now?
Wonderful.
Anita?
Brian, welcome back.
Okay. All right. So sorry about that. Yeah, I guess I was talking to myself. Hey, thank you, Anita. Thank you, Zara. Thank you, Jack Ma Foundation. And it's a pleasure to be with Adejoro, Ayo, and Joshua for this session. I've been asked on behalf of the Alibaba Global Initiatives team and the business school at Alibaba to share with you some of our insights learned from our experiences here in the last few months of battling COVID-19 using digital platforms that Alibaba operates in our larger ecosystem. Thank you all the participants and also the viewers who are joining us, the entrepreneurs and those who are part of the AMPI network. So let's kick things off just to give you an idea of who is AGI and what we do. As I stated, Alibaba Global Initiatives, we're part of the business school, and our paradigm or our approach to working with our entrepreneurs and community is really to share the lessons learned from the last 20 years of Alibaba's experience in China. We have entrepreneurs we call e-founder fellows and entrepreneurs in Africa, in Asia, and what we try and do is share the lessons learned from our experience with governments, with entrepreneurs who are building the digital infrastructure of the economy, and also the small businesses and educational institutions that are all players in helping to build this ecosystem. And today we're very excited to be engaging many of the entrepreneurs, all of you online in Africa, because we feel at this time it's particularly important to really step up and figure out how to leverage the technology and also your businesses to help address some of the issues that are facing us amidst the COVID-19 crisis. And so Alibaba, much like any other company, has a business strategy. But in this era of this pandemic, what we've had to do is really think about how do we reconfigure our business to address the most pressing issues facing us, but also the larger community. And so that goes back to our mission and vision, which is really dedicated and focused on small businesses to make it easy to do business anywhere. But at the same time, what we try and do is link that to a strategy that can leverage our organizational abilities and also align the performance of our teams to really focus on the core issues. And in light of COVID-19, what we actually believe is, besides just everyday business, there are a few very important specific objectives that we want to achieve. Number one is really just helping to support and save people's lives. This relates to being able to bring the necessary medical information and supplies to the frontline workers to support them in any way that we can through our platforms. So supporting people's lives, supporting medical services. At the same time, we believe that society as a whole needs assistance and support in terms of ensuring that people, regardless of the situation, if there's a lockdown or there's limited mobility amongst the community, that people can still live their lives in a way that will allow them to access the necessary food, the necessary materials, and stay in contact with one another amidst this crisis. And so small, medium-sized businesses, we believe, are a key to providing these kinds of services. Small, medium-sized businesses, whether it's the formal economy or the informal economy, provide close to 80% of the jobs in many of these countries in the emerging markets. So we try and also gear our strategy towards helping these SMEs. And finally, how do we bring positive energy to society through our work and through our platforms by giving people hope that in being able to utilize the services that we offer, that they can have a chance of surviving and also be able to maintain some of the aspects of their lives that are very important for their daily necessities. So Alibaba's approach to how we go about addressing the COVID-19 crisis really starts with action. We as a company have taken action across many different businesses by leveraging our digital platforms to be able to provide support and services across many different areas, whether it's the medical sector, whether it's the retail sector, whether it's the education sector. We first have to take action. And by taking that action, then we can take these sort of experiences and then sort of formulate them or codify them into a training sort of format such that we can share our learnings that we've accumulated from this experience with other entrepreneurs and other sort of partners. And by sharing that training, then we can activate a larger ecosystem of companies and partners who could then take those learnings and think about how it's relevant to their own businesses. Not only, however, is this relevant to their own businesses, the third aspect of our approach is really building community. How do we activate the larger community, not only to work on the things that are important to their specific business, but also to help bring these different players together to create a much larger, more scalable effect in terms of the impact that they achieve and the sort of the breadth and depth of people that they reach. So community is also important. So action, training, and community are the three aspects of how we go about the work that we do. In addition to that, there's a 3C strategy that we use internally at our company, which relates to how we build proper communication, connection, and commitment within our organization. For all of you who have businesses, it's important to think about, number one, as you respond to this crisis, how are you going to make your staff, first of all, feel safe and secure and give them the proper direction and the things that need to be done for your own business? This, I think, should be probably the first thing that you think about before you even address the external issues. And so communication is critical for helping people understand, what's happening in this battle against COVID. What is the company doing? What are other teams doing as they deal with the challenges that they're facing? At the same time, you want to maintain the connections between the different teams and staff within your company. If your country right now is in lockdown, if you have limited movement, you don't have the opportunity to see each other every day and be able to communicate face to face. So you have to come up with means by which you facilitate regular connection and communication between all of the team members who are probably in remote locations and establish certain mechanisms that ensure that you have that kind of connection. And then finally, commitment. Are you inspiring your team and giving them sort of direction and hope in light of this challenge? So you as the leaders, you as the entrepreneurs of your company, are you setting that direction and giving people reassurance that the company is committed to this objective and that everyone will be supported in trying to achieve the same? And so, I'm not going to go through the specific actions in detail, but I'll give you sort of a flavor of what are some of the things that we've done at our company that you can think about could possibly relate to the businesses that you operate, or just give you some idea and context as to how digital platforms can be utilized. Our local life business, we have a company called Ulama, which is really a food delivery service. We have a fleet of couriers who use motorcycles to deliver meals and different things to our consumers at their homes. Now, as you know, in much of Africa and also in China, there's plenty of small retail shops, restaurants, mom and pop businesses that don't have access to the internet. This is a challenge because as the country goes into lockdown, people cannot visit these stores to buy the things that they need. The question really is then, how do you maintain sort of the lifeline of these small mom and pop businesses to the larger market without this foot traffic that happens on a regular basis in a normal living situation? So what we did with Ulama was to build a digital platform that allowed the quick onboarding of these small mom and pop shops to connect to this network that then could connect to the consumers who are using Ulama for things like buying food and other things. We enabled these mom and pop shops to be digitized, but also enabled them to deliver their products to the homes of the consumers where they were sort of in lockdown. At the same time, what you find is many of the restaurants, many catering businesses, their staff become redundant because there's no longer a need for their services if nobody's going to their premise. But at the same time, there's a big need for things like logistics and fulfillment. So what Ulama did in partnership with Hema, which is our new retail business, is created a temporary job platform where we were able to pair the need for jobs in the logistics area, in the fulfillment area, with those people who did not have jobs or were losing their jobs in the restaurant or catering business so that they could have temporary positions where there was a need for their services during this crisis. So these are some of the concepts which were launched during the COVID crisis in China, utilizing our local life businesses and helping address the needs of the consumers, but also the small retail and mom and pop shops, and also reallocating resources, human resources where needed. We have a business called Ali Health, which is really focused on trying to deliver health information and services to our consumers online. And here, we really worked with hospitals to provide remote access in terms of healthcare diagnosis. We enabled prescription fulfillment remotely, and we also enabled delivery of medicine to the homes. Many of you know that in this time, there are many people who are getting sick, but then there are those who have symptoms that might not be sure if they have the sickness like COVID-19. So rather than to go to the hospitals and create an overload on the system and also expose yourself as an individual to this dangerous environment where the virus might be spreading, the idea is that you can access remote diagnosis from doctors to protect yourself and to protect the hospital from being over capacity. At the same time, these drug delivery or pharmaceutical delivery services allowed for people that have chronic illnesses to be able to access the medicine they need without having to go to the hospital. So that's another example of how we leveraged a digital platform to provide the health services necessary. E-commerce, many of you are already familiar with, really allows people to buy conveniently the products and the products that they require. In the most urgent case, it's access to PPE, which is the medical supplies like masks and gloves. And we provided this kind of service both to China during the outbreak in Wuhan, but also as the virus started to spread internationally, we were able to help facilitate the sale of these medical supplies from China to the rest of the world. And we also have our foundations that have played a key role in the COVID sort of battle. The Jack Ma Foundation, in partnership with the Alibaba Foundation, was able to secure medical supplies and send them to different countries, including most of, if not all, the countries in Africa, but also provide the medical knowledge through a manual, which we worked to produce with the Zhejiang Medical University to help doctors get a comparison in terms of how to treat and prevent COVID spread. Cainiao is our logistics business, and it was very instrumental in helping with the distribution of medical supplies when roads and different logistics ports and channels were being sort of facing some barriers and bottlenecks. Cainiao is our digital logistics management system, and we were able to create green channels that facilitated the fast movement of not only medical supplies, but also as we recognized that there was a problem in terms of food distribution, especially fresh food and produce within the country, we also established green channels. I imagine in a place like Africa, where there is lots of agricultural industry, one of the biggest challenges that you are all going to face is the perishable food that sits in a warehouse because the logistics chains are clogged due to the lack of the trucks and the different normal sort of movement that happens in a normal market situation. One thing that I think we're all going to need to think about is how to reactivate or at least ensure that these logistics move, and also that the food sources are able to get distributed to the right parts of the cities and the different parts in the country so that people can have access to that food, and also that we do not waste that food that sits unnecessarily. Alibaba Cloud is our big data business, and thanks to many of the team that helped to build different applications, we were able to help hospitals do diagnoses using our algorithms and the genomic analysis that reduced the time to do such analysis exponentially. as well as providing technology to analyze CT scans that normally would take doctors many hours to assess, could be done anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds using this technology. And then DingTalk is our communications platform. This was very important in terms of helping businesses work remotely that did not have systems in place to facilitate communication with the employees. But at the same time, it was very instrumental in helping students continue their classes, even though they had to be sent home and studying from home. Over 120 students were served by this DingTalk platform, and 200 million employees used the platform for remote working. Then finally, Ant Financial is our financial services business, which really helped to provide microloans to small businesses at a reduced rate or interest-free rate, and also to provide insurance to those frontline workers in the case that they got sick, that there was enough financial support to help them with their medical bills. Now, I know this is a lot of information to share with all of you, but I'm happy to say that we have it all here in this medical guide. I'm sorry, not medical guide, I'm sorry, it's a guide for digital action. The medical guide is what the Jack Ma Foundation and Alibaba Foundation provided. This guide here is for digital action for entrepreneurs. And you can see here the URL on this page, and that's yuque.com/AGI_insights. You can download this handbook that has a summary of all the things and much more in this booklet for your reference, and to give you some ideas on how digital technology can be utilized. And we also have a number of courses that we run online for people to join and learn weekly about the different things that Alibaba is doing in this battle against coronavirus, but also peer sharing, which we're very happy that Adejoro, Ayo, and Joshua are part of that community of eFounder fellows and entrepreneurs, and they share every week their experiences. And finally, we share articles that highlight some of the case studies. And I just want to say that, you know, this is not just Alibaba doing these things. Already we have a number of entrepreneurs within our community. Some of them are also the Africa business heroes that were part of the competition last year. They're all doing things and in the community to help address this issue. In Malaysia, this new venture, Romakita, was launched within just a week by Daniel, that actually provided all of the demand data from hospitals throughout Malaysia so that resources could be properly directed to them in an efficient way, with the help of another fellow named Clarence Liang, who helped with the delivery and fulfillment of these medical supplies. In Rwanda, we have 2 AGI trained entrepreneurs who are providing education to over 30,000 students in the primary, post-secondary, and college level courses to access remote education. And then in Indonesia, similarly, we have entrepreneurs, digital entrepreneurs working together to help fulfill medical supplies, as well as
Hey, Brian, are you there? Okay, I'm wondering if we lost Brian. Brian, are you back?
He's trying to back soon.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, as we wait for Brian, I think there's a lot of things that we have been able to pick up. The manual is actually available. And if you would see in your Q&A section that Lucia did mention that it's available. And also you, Juliet Chuka, who is joining us from Nigeria, you would like to know about some partnerships with Alibaba. That is absolutely, I would say it's possible, but you also have to check out our application, which was launched last week, the application for the African Entrepreneur Prize Initiative. It's on live right now. Brian, are you back? Are we successful?
we are. Yes, hi, I'm back.
Wonderful, Brian. Over to you.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, guys, let me just pull up my presentation here. Apologize, but I think my point in all this, can you hear me? Okay. My point in all this is that this is not just Alibaba that is able to make an impact on the community using the digital technology, but rather it's something that companies of all sizes can contribute to this effort. And what we are here today to do is to encourage all of you in your positions to think about what are the things that you can do in your capacity with your talent to help the larger community. And I'm also happy to say that when I talk about community, this collaboration goes beyond just the individual entrepreneurs, but we also work with international organizations, obviously with AMPI and the Jack Ma Foundation, and even the Obama leaders in Africa are working with us, as well as those in Asia and the World Economic Forum. So you guys are not alone. We're all here together. In fact, we will be announcing some other initiatives in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Africa Growth Platform, which we would love your involvement in as well. So I think that I will summarize and end here by saying, please download the handbook so that you can get some ideas on what are the myriad of possibilities that digital technology can bring to help fight the battle, but also congratulations to all of you who are already entrepreneurs and doing your part to help the community. And thank you very much, Jack Ma Foundation, for this opportunity to share today.
Thank you, Brian. Brian, but before you leave us, I mean, one of the biggest issues is what's happening with coronavirus, COVID-19 is absolutely unprecedented in our lifetime, in our era. Few people know how to quickly react to it. Few people know exactly what to do about it. So the question I would ask you is, how quickly must entrepreneurs be ready to act, specifically to digital action? How quickly should we do it?
Very good question, Anita. I think that we're all human, and in being human, we all have the same response. This isn't really my problem until it shows up at my doorstep. And so one of the things that we feel strongly about is to make this call to action now to all of our friends in Africa, that you need to start preparing now, because the sooner you prepare, the better off you will be in terms of helping your community and yourselves. And so I've seen this movie played twice now, and hopefully not a third time. But in China, we went through this this coronavirus crisis, and people suddenly said, oh my gosh, this is real and we need to take action. We had to quarantine, we had to do a lot of the things that you read about. And my friends in the United States and Europe were like, oh, that's China, I'm sorry, I hope you guys are okay, but this isn't really that urgent for me. And I tried to give advice, but people were not responsive until it started to hit their communities. And unfortunately, it was not a pleasant situation. Yeah. So I would say that the African community has an advantage. It's a 2-month advantage where they can prepare now and learn from our mistakes, and hopefully learn from this manual in terms of the ideas that can be applied to digital businesses.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you one more question before you leave us, Brian. I mean, we're talking about this handbook, and we're talking about its ability to, help the entrepreneurs or our entrepreneurs actually understand how quickly they can move or how effectively they can be to their communities. But what's one of the major, I would say, highlights of the handbook that, given the fact that you are at the helm of this, what's one of the major things you're going to encourage our entrepreneurs perhaps to pay attention in the handbook?
Well, I would actually say that don't be wedded to the things that Alibaba has done and try and think that you need to replicate them exactly. I think what's more important is take it as a source of inspiration, but also think about specifically your own communities. What can I learn from these examples, but then adapt it to help serve the specific needs to my community? And we've seen that already in Nigeria and in Rwanda. We have a fellow who has a platform called Traders of Africa. And she basically has taken her B2B website and converted it into a Pan-Africa sourcing initiative for PPE. She's doing it in a way that fits the Africa market. In many countries, they might not have digital payments yet. Maybe they still need to use other methods. Maybe they need to find local logistics partners to help with the distribution. So don't be, I would say, wedded to everything you read in here, but use it as an inspiration. And think about, I think the main takeaway, Anita, in all this is just recognize that you have the opportunity to do something very impactful for your community. And that in itself is a very important, I think, conclusion.
And Brian, I think it's also safe for us to say that the key learnings from the handbook perhaps are not limited to businesses that already exist. What about new companies? What about new entities that want to kind of push at this point in time to make the necessary impact on their communities?
So that's a good point. I think you need to think about, however, what are your skills? What are your strengths? Whether or not you have an existing business now or you're going to create something, leverage your strengths and then work with partners. We have people in this community that have created new businesses within 72 hours. Obviously, their skills, however, are coding, or they have a digital sort of related background. But at the same time, they didn't try and build every aspect of that system. They worked with another partner that did payments. They worked with another partner that did sort of logistics fulfillment. And these stories, whether it's 72 hours or 4 days, in some cases 24 hours, it's possible. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I think right now what you need to do is just do something to get the ball moving and think about, but this should not be building business for the sake of business and trying to make a quick buck. It should be building something that helps solve a real problem that you see is coming down the road or already exists today. Yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. And I would say that the handbook has, of course, it is absolutely timely, as you say, that we on this part of the world, particularly specifically talking about Africa, do have that little tiny leeway. But again, one never knows. So preparation, collaboration, re-strategy or re-strategizing is our key. So thanks very much for sharing this with us.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Brian. I'm going to actually bring Zara Beatty back into this conversation. Zara, I think that you spoke at the beginning of this webinar. We've got a few participants who've joined us since then. And I kind of want to, looking at the questions that are coming in about, you know, collaborations or guidance or direction, etc. I kind of think we should re-highlight the importance of the African Entrepreneur Prize, what it does, of course, in its long-term planning, but most importantly, what the Alibaba ecosystem means to our entrepreneurs on the continent.
Thank you so much, Anita. And I saw a question that someone was asking. They went at the launch last week, and so happy to share a little bit more. So the African Entrepreneur Prize Initiative is, we're running a competition at the moment, the Africa's Business Heroes competition. As I mentioned, we're really looking for entrepreneurs who are creating impact in their community. We invite entrepreneurs who have businesses that are 3 years old or more to apply. They have the chance to win a share of $1.5 million. There's a 3-round review process, at the end of which they have the opportunity to pitch to business legends, including Jack Ma. But beyond that, beyond the grant money, which I'm sure everyone will agree is quite substantial, they have the opportunity to access the eFounders Fellowship Training, which Brian's team, the Alibaba Global Initiatives, runs. And that training is really important. It provides them the opportunity to do a deep dive into the digital economy, into Alibaba's businesses, to have the opportunity to engage with Alibaba business executives, to really understand how China's digital economy works and how digital platforms can really help businesses transcend the challenges they face and move to the next step. So it's a very holistic program that provides both grant funding, it provides access to mentorship via our very diverse set of judges and our partner network. And importantly, it also provides training, one of which is the eFounders Fellowship Training. And entrepreneurs will have the opportunity to do a deep dive into many of the models and aspects that Brian was speaking about. and importantly, become part of a wider ecosystem of entrepreneurs who collaborate with one another, who are able to support each other, then take their business models to the next level. And so we invite everyone to apply. As you mentioned, Anita, earlier, the applications are open, africasbusinessheroes.org. And so really welcome all to apply and stand the chance to win access to funds, opportunity to be a part of the eFounders Fellowship Program as well.
Yeah, and you know, just to tie this information, Zara, that you shared with us with what some of the finalists from 2019 are doing, I just have to say that ability to grow, support, you know, fuel some of these businesses today is what certain countries are probably benefiting on. I mean, Temi, who won last year, is doing so much to help fight COVID-19 in Nigeria. And of course, I mean, coming up pretty soon, I'll have also a conversation with Ayo, who's one of the finalists as well. You know, so what I really want to find out from you, Zara, is Brian has come and talked to us about, you know, the handbooks, the Alibaba Group Initiative handbook. You've just, you know, mentioned so beautifully how the applications, well, that eventual winning of that money, what it could do for you. But in your experience in looking for applicants, in your experience in engaging with some of the finalists, now that you knew them and now that we see what is happening with COVID-19, what would you say is one of the best things or one of the key learnings that these, I would say, men and women, these entrepreneurs who are part of the Alibaba ecosystem, what is one of the key learnings they are taking away once they kind of join the network, if I may use that word?
I think the importance of collaboration. We will be joined by 3 amazing entrepreneurs shortly, who themselves will highlight the power of collaboration and what they've been able to do once they are part of this ecosystem and how they're able to support each other, take things to the next level. And so I think the key takeaway is just the importance of collaboration and also the importance of just responding quickly, being rapid with your response and being bold. And it requires a level of courage and really jumping at it.
Thank you so much, Zara. That's a beautiful segue to my panel discussion. I've got Adejoro from co-founder of De-Miropass. He's joining us. I've got Ayo, co-founder of Thrive Agric, and of course, Joshua from Zagana. Gentlemen, are you live and ready to go?
Yes.
Fantastic. If I can, I mean, because Zara also spoke extensively about I would say the ANPI, and Brian also spoke about the handbook. I want to tie it all in. So I'm just going to start with you, Ayo. You know, going back to November 2019, you were a finalist. Of course, you had to pitch in front of Jack Ma, Strive Masiwa, Ibukun, Awosika. It must have been quite the experience for you. Fast forward to now, where your B2B tech-enabled business is thriving, but then facing, you know, the threat of coronavirus. How have you had to adapt quickly in this era, if I may put it that way?
All right. Thank you so much, Anita, for that question. So essentially, we've tried to do something. I'll just share my screen to explain a bit around what we've been doing so far.
Go ahead.
All right. So essentially, we basically started out wanting to figure out how to connect farmers to like businesses. Basically, something like the food import challenge, and just the fact that we had like a lot of smallholder farmers in Africa and Nigeria. And then essentially between then and now, I think as of November, we're working 22,000 farmers. We've scaled to about 40,000 farmers now. And I essentially going after 250,000 farmers this year. So just like that rapid growth, thanks to definitely like the funding that came from the African Business Heroes and then some other financing we had raised over time. We also grew the team from like 22 to 54 people and from about 300 agents to like 1,000. Just across like communities we're working in. And something we decided to do was basically during the COVID challenge was we realized that it's going to be more difficult to service our B2B clients. And so one day we just sent an email. I mean, we posted on our social media and just told people we'll deliver chicken to you. Just one post. Did it in like 2 minutes. And we got about 1,000 sign-ups, people saying, oh, they wanted to order chicken. And the next day we're delivering chickens about like 100 homes. And that has grown about 100% week on week. And so just taking from that, what we've essentially began to do is to partner with like a lot more people. So for instance, we're about to roll out with a savings platform that has about 1 million customers. And because like financial transactions are low, nobody's doing anything, basically enable them to become an e-commerce platform. So we essentially list chicken, rice, and whatever people need to order online, and then they distribute to their customers. And just sort of like leveraging those relationships to open up now a B2C relationship for our farmers, essentially.
And the powerful thing you're talking about is relationship, you know, and collaboration, and how reliant you are on that today. But how have you been able to do it so quickly? Are these people in your network? Are they people you are having to quickly research to know about? Or perhaps they are people or organizations in the Alibaba ecosystem. How have you done it? Teach us.
So they've actually been people in our network, people who've built relationships over time. So the guys doing logistics for us, we've known them for a while. The savings platform, we have been on a similar program together. I think almost every relationship, almost everybody we're working with right now is someone we've had a past relationship with. And it's only just figuring out what's our strengths, what's their strengths, and making them all connect to each other.
Okay, that's very powerful. Ayo, don't go away. I want to bring Ade into this conversation. Ade is a co-founder of De-Miropass. Ade, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful. Now, Ade, one would say that because, you know, De-Miro is, you know, an offline or online supermarket, you may have easily been thrown off at the reality of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. How have you quickly re-strategized in the face of this crisis?
Okay. Thank you, Anita, for that question. I think the founder fellowship training that I was part was very impactful, because during that training we had a story about the SARS period that Alibaba faced and how they were able to conquer that. Right. So when we heard about COVID-19 in China, so we started planning ahead. Okay, what if this enter Nigeria, there's lockdown? How do we respond to the business and all that? So we started doing the planning ahead before the virus actually entered Nigeria. So we'll be able to look into the community and see people who can actually partner with in case of lockdown, in terms of logistics, in terms of supplies and all. So that was how we were able to respond to it very fast.
You know, are you proceeding to apply your fleet? Are you proceeding to, what kinds of resources specifically are you highly reliant on as you face the crisis?
Okay, I just decided to just leverage on a whole lot of contacts. We have some logistic partners, Sendbox. They are also e-founders members. They have their own logistic fleets and all that. So we leverage on that to deliver to our customers. And in the area of supply to some of our customers, we have a partnership with Price Valley, who is also an e-founder. And the retailer, they major more on bulk supply, because the majority of our suppliers, their factory are locked down, no movement and all that. So retailer were able to blend in with that partnership to supply goods to us so that we can sell to our members. So I mean that we just leverage on the community that we belong to.
It might sound easy to someone who's listening and trying to figure out exactly how he or she can re-strategize their business. So just be honest with us, was this easy to do? Have you kind of had that moment of insecurity, that moment of wondering if you're actually probably going to lose something very vital? And how have you dealt with that if you faced it in the last few weeks?
Okay, let me just share a slide to answer that. But the truth is it's not easy, but because of the fact that you were able to know what you want per time, and you know the kind of person you are, the kind of people or the community you belong to. So it's more easier to leverage on such contact. Now, like talking with all these guys, you know, it requires a whole lot of dialogue, a whole lot of explanation. How do we make this work? How do we ensure that whatever you're bringing on board are fitting into their own vision, so that it will engage their own business model and all that. So all those things we need to put in check before we're able to now come up with a partnership. Now at the point, we now discover again that internet is a big problem in the country. Here, there's a lockdown movement, and majority of Nigerians, they are daily earners. So now to even subscribe online, to subscribe for the internet services and all that, is always also hard for them. So that's why we activated a phone call portal where they can just call to make their order. So I just to receive the phone call, take their order, then we deliver to them. So we just try to ensure that we make the lockdown thing more easier for them. And our partnership with the other guys now make more easier. But the truth is, the brain behind it wasn't easy. But because we have solid community, we're able to pull through.
Ade, how would you say that being part of the Alibaba ecosystem prepared you for this moment?
Well, just like I said, there are a lot of information I got when I was in China, and there are a lot of idea that that training, you know, changed a whole lot of things about my business, the structure, the vision, the culture. So all these things are those that have already prepared us ahead of time. So when the issue of COVID-19 came up, yes, we are not really too bothered. Why? Because we know we belong to the class of business that provide essential items to the people. So the only thing is just to leverage on people to ensure that this actually works. So I think the training actually gives me a whole lot of insight into what will happen in case there is crisis and how to deal with it. And that's how we are very proactive about that.
I guess proactivity really is what genuinely allows you to plug into whatever the situation may be, or make a quick enough change to your strategy, or change even how your community really is taking a pandemic such as what we're seeing, because we've never seen this before, you know, and specifically with our entrepreneurs who have, I would say, limited access to information, etc. This hits home quite a bit for a lot of our entrepreneurs. Would you say that, you know, your new plan was difficult to implement?
Well, you know, it depends on the environment you find yourself. Because we are already in the industry before now, so to adjust the plan to the current situation is a bit more easier. Why? Because the majority of the infrastructures, equipment, the staffs, all what we need to switch, we have them. But those that we don't actually have, then we leverage on people or members that we can make use of. So that's why it looks as though it's more simple. But I believe it's not that simple for some other entrepreneurs who do not belong to any community or any group that they can leverage on. So I think the bottom line is, whatever business you do as an entrepreneur, ensure you belong to a particular community that you can leverage on in the time of crisis. I think that's just the bottom line.
Thank you so much, Ade, for joining us. And if I may say so, your call to action for entrepreneurs to ensure they belong to, you know, an ecosystem of sorts, a network of sorts, I would say that this is a perfect time for you all to join the Alibaba ecosystem, the African Entrepreneur Prize Initiative. You know, also we're looking for business heroes, and we understand what the limitations and the challenges are, and that's why this initiative is paramount to today's African entrepreneur. Thank you very much, Ade. I'm going to take this now to Joshua. Joshua, I hope you're doing well today.
Hey, nice to see you guys here.
Fantastic. Now, Joshua, you know, I'm just going to put you on the spot right now with Zangana. You're primarily B2B. Now everything has changed, but you, I want to say, are probably ahead of us. I would like you to take us through your new strategy and how you were able to quickly adapt to the coronavirus situation and be able to offer some solutions quickly to your community.
Yes, should I'll just put on my slide quickly.
Go ahead.
Can you see it? Hello?
Yep, it's sharing at the moment. And
Okay,
I think
perfect.
in a few seconds, we'll have it on the screen. Wonderful.
Okay,
and
yeah,
Joshua, whilst we wait for, is it on now? I'm not sure that we can see it just yet. You've got to give it maybe a minute or a couple of seconds. But whilst we wait, how have you stayed motivated through all of this, through all the changes?
So I'll just give a brief background about Zegana. So Zegana is basically an inspiration from the learnings of the Alibaba e-Founders program. I was running Pushcart.ph, an online grocery delivery platform that partners with supermarket chains to deliver goods for corporate and household users. But after learning about rural Taobao, and one thing that truly excites me was when Professor Wei Ru Chen lectured on the hottest business called New Retailing. I basically asked him a question about Hema, and he replied to me about the competitive edge that I should focus on, which is supply chain and sourcing. So that's how Zegana was founded, in building the farm fresh supply chain that can also be leveraged by other platforms. I partnered with one of my batchmates as well, which is Steve C from the Alibaba e-Founder program last 2019.
Right.
So we basically just founded Zegana in October 2019. So it's really new. This is also partnered with some of the great entrepreneurs in the Philippines as well. So basically what COVID happened was, hello?
Joshua, I'm right here. I'm going to ask you to share your slide again. I can't see it. Joshua, are you there?
Yes. Let
Fantastic.
me check on this. Hello, this one?
Okay.
Can you see it now?
Perfect. Now we can see it. Please go ahead.
Yes. There we go. So the mission of Zegana is basically to help uplift the lives of our farmers. The problem basically was because the Philippine government is disaligned with the private sectors. There's a lack of support coming from the government to support our farmers. That's why we could not rely mostly for the government to help us. And this is one of our advocacy to help give fair market value to the produce that the farmers are producing, provide healthy produce to every Filipino community, and also deliver high quality produce to our household. So as you know, Philippines is composed of 7,600 islands. So there's a lot of disalignment, as well as basically being the supply chain is decentralized, which is more costlier for the produce to go around. And that's why we built micro farms around each cities, as well as creating production and logistics around the farms. This is our current process flow. We create demands from our web store or from our app, which produces which gives the pre-production for the farmers to actually plant what is needed. Then it goes to our processing plant where we cut and clean the produce, then goes to our micro fulfillment centers where we deliver same day to our customers. So currently we've been delivering, our facility was actually built in time of the lockdown, of the COVID lockdown. So we didn't even have our blessings yet, but we had to move forward and help our Filipino community. So so other platforms have been leveraging our facility, which is GrabMart. as well as Lazada and Shopee. So both all of them activated their sites within a day when the lockdown happened. Our focus was mainly delivering to B2B channels, which is corporate users as well as restaurants. But because of the lockdown, we had to shift towards B2C. And overnight, we've been getting thousands of orders to deliver fresh produce to the homes.
Wonderful.
Yes. Yeah, that ends my slide. So.
Thank you very much, Joshua. But you are also cited in the manual, in the Alibaba group manual. What would you say is one of your sources of motivation? Because a lot of entrepreneurs are really, really thrown off guard by the lockdowns, by the virus. What's your motivation? How are you keeping and maintaining, your positive outlook?
First of all, the facility was built in the lockdown. So I guess it was God's grace that we have to fulfill these orders. We had to deliver this fresh produce to every Filipino household, and we have to help the Philippine government as well. Because in this lockdown, it wasn't really planned. Even the government failed to plan. We had a lot of food passes, certificates, but some of our fresh produce coming from the farm could not come into the city. So food security was on the line. But so there was a little bump on the road to deliver fresh produce. And as Brian mentioned, there's a lot of fresh produce rotting inside the warehouse of the farms. So we actually experienced the same thing. I think most of the countries did. So we basically got ourselves up. We had a skeletal workforce as well. We got people within our barangays or our community who lives just 3 kilometers away. So we hired same day as well. We got people, we got riders, we got vans who lives nearby 3 kilometers of our facility, and we were able to train them to pick and pack the produce and deliver. So it was all just within 3 days that we were able to start up the facility.
You had to move very quickly and restart, I would say, very quickly as well.
Yes, and all platforms like Lazada and Shopee and Grab came up to us and even asked for us to onboard them. So we've been delivering to their customers as well. So it's basically they leverage our facility, or it became a shared facility for us to deliver the produce more efficiently.
Wonderful.
And we've been
Joshua, don't go away.
Yes.
I just want to... No, sorry. Go ahead, please, Joshua. Continue.
Yes, and we've been helping donate produce as well to restaurants to create food or meals for the frontliners, which are the medical staff, as well as even our delivery rides, who we look at them as heroes.
Thank you so much, Joshua. And you are a hero, our tagline, as Zara said so well, looking for heroes. And you are one of them that will continue to inspire not just your community or your country, but the entire world. Thank you so much for being so exemplary.
Thank you.
But don't go away. We've got some questions coming up from our panel, from our participants. But I just want to move to Ayo very quickly. Ayo. Now, one of the things that we all didn't know was going to happen is, of course, COVID-19. Ayo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Wonderful. One of the things that we all didn't foresee is, what we are going through right now, which is the lockdowns, the pandemic, our health, our wellness are all at stake, etc. Is there anything that you may have picked or you may have learned during I would say the finals of AMPI in November 2019, that today when you look back, you can say, you know what, based on what this judge said, or based on what I had to go through in this particular part of the competition, I was ready. Like, I am a ready entrepreneur to face the coronavirus.
Thanks for that. I think the two major things we learned was, one, the ability to move fast, and secondly, listening to customers. And so just like leveraging those two things is really how we're able to launch the B2C and literally just get running in a day. So I think those are two key things. And I think that came from Jack Ma, like listening to customers is always referencing listening to customers. And then just the ability to move fast. So that was super useful for us.
I'm sure you do have friends who've also started their own businesses, and I'm sure you do hear the murmurs of, lack of motivation, a lot of confusion, a lot of, loss of money, etc. How would you say you've been able to keep your head above, I would say, the dark cloud of uncertainty? How have you done it? How have you remained so positive?
I think it definitely has to be the community we have around. First, I think I have a really good team, and then they've just been really useful in encouraging one another, and also the team from Netpreneur. So the top 10 we have a WhatsApp group, and then one time we're talking about what everyone is doing about COVID. Another time someone is sharing some funny joke to make everyone just laugh and relax. And so it's just I think and then even on Ding Talk, there's always one link or someone willing to make an introduction. I think just having that community is super useful. One, to stay calm, and two, to just keep on your toes that people are actually doing something out there.
Yeah, remaining calm. I'm going to find Zara, and I'm going to put her on the spot. Zara, you're going to be my very effective co-host, and you're going to help me with the question and answer. Do we have any questions at the moment? And of course, my effective co-host is now trying to probably get back online.
Sorry.
Probably get
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I called you my effective co-host, Sarah.
Okay, hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Do we have any questions?
We currently don't have any open questions, so I would highly recommend for all those on the floor, please do share questions that you have for our three entrepreneurs, and we will share with them so they can answer. But I do have some questions for the entrepreneurs who have joined us. Many of you talked about the importance of community, and I know, Shola, you are also partnering with Thrive Agric, Ayo. So if you could also share a little bit around how that collaboration came about and how you've seen that impact the communities that you're working with.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the collaboration with Thrive Agric is as regards the chicken that Ayo talked about. I received a call from Thrive Agric saying, how do we partner to see how we can get the chicken across to our customers? And since we have quite a number of number based in Abuja, and they are based in Abuja, so wow, this will be nice. And we partner, then we'll make the information available to our members and customers in Abuja. And the form was out, and I think they are filling the form and they are making their orders. That's it.
Right.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, on the Thrive Network is really the fact that while I might not have met Shola at Netpreneur, my co-founder met him at eFounders. So just really broadening the opportunities we have and then the network has been really useful.
Great. And I will also share some results for all to see. I did a poll to see how many businesses are digital, and of the people on the call, we have about 60% who are digital. I mean, we can see a range of industries. Many click other, but we have agriculture as one of the top ones. Now, Ayo, you are in agriculture, and Joshua, you also, given your work, engage a lot with farmers. Many people may not necessarily realize the opportunities to leverage technology in agricultural businesses. Could you share a little bit with us how you see technology impacting what is typically a very traditional sector?
Yeah, the Philippine sector, we're an agricultural country. We have a lot of natural resource, but because we have 7,600 islands, we are a decentralized country. That's why supplies is costlier when you ship it around inside the Philippines rather than importing goods coming from Vietnam or even China. So the local farmers are losing out because more people are buying outside rather than, or it's cheaper importing the goods rather than buying it local. That's why we have to help the community, feed the community, as well as delivering this fresh produce within 10-mile radius. So that's what we're doing in the farm level. We have our own. We're building our own processing plant. We've partnered with potato farmers, carrot farmers, and all those produce where we clean and process it, and we aggregate all those produce to bring it down to the city level. And in city level, we have micro fulfillment centers that's delivering same day to 1 hour delivery of those fresh produce to our household users.
Great. That is, I think, very insightful. Ayo, did you have anything to share around the use of technology in agriculture?
Yeah, I think like there's definitely a lot of opportunities. On our end, we're figuring out to use technology to provide farmers with insights. So basic things like how to plant, seed spacing, seed depth, just to help farmers like improve their productivity. And we've seen our farmers achieve about 300% yield, productivity as opposed to like national average. And it goes from getting them weather updates via SMS to leveraging our agent network to provide them like different sort of advice. We've also seen technology in being able to unlock finance for farmers. So in Africa and like Nigerians specifically, a lot of farmers have access to like even basic things like identity or historicals. And so we basically gather this data for them and then plug them into like banks, MFIs, or individuals who want to lend to them. And we're able to channel like quite some sort of funding to the farmer.
Great.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, so to Ade, Ayo, and Joshua, my question is, and my last question, I would say your last words, but my last question to all three of you is, I would say it's a very broad blanket question. It's easy to say that we've been hit by an unprecedented circumstance or issue, pandemic. It's also easy to shrug our shoulders and say, well, I wasn't really planning for it. To each of you, what words of advice would you give our entrepreneurs, helping them to see the opportunity that this pandemic and its repercussions actually do bring to us as entrepreneurs? We can start off with you, Ayo.
Okay, all right, thanks for that. So I think on my end, it's just really realizing that, like you need to, like COVID might be here for a while, and then it's just embrace that and embrace the reality, like you need to pivot or you might die, literally as a business. So just really look for opportunities. Like don't be scared to change. Don't be scared to say, oh, but like 9% of our revenue comes for this channel or all our staffs do this, but like just change, switch to what makes sense. And like just find the opportunities where the challenges exist. So I think that would be for me. Like don't be afraid to pivot.
Don't be afraid to divert. Ade, what would your response be?
Oh, well, as for me, this has given us opportunities to see new opportunities, to look deeper into what we can do, and I think. Now, the behavior of human behavior towards retail now is changing, which I believe after the crisis, definitely to affect the way people now shop. Now people love to now shop online. Before now, the issue of trust is the problem we have in online space. But during this crisis, trust me, people forget about the trust because they have no option now to just order online and get it delivered. So I think that will change. So in times of crisis, my advice is we should not be scared. We should just look inward and see what we can do to make sure that we take advantage of the crisis. Thank you.
Ade, thank you very much. Joshua, same question goes to you.
Yes, just with saying with Adejoro, it's for every crisis there's a opportunity. So create a solution for that. Be a solution seller. Always look for ways to help the community. So it's not a matter of basically just earning, but what you need is to put your heart into what you're doing. What is right, what could help the community grow, especially in times of crisis.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Truly inspired by your ability to quickly change the course, truly inspired by your ability to look the crisis in the face and actually provide provide solutions, not just for yourselves, for your businesses, but for your communities. And hopefully we will follow your example. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you as well.
I'm going to bring Brian Wong back into the conversation as we get close to the end of this conversation. Brian, are you with me?
Yes, I am.
So Brian, digital action for entrepreneurs in the age of COVID-19 is something that has been so cleverly pulled out of the manual and the Alibaba Global Initiatives Manual, which you spearhead. Now that we've heard from our panelists who are also entrepreneurs in the Alibaba ecosystem, and now that we've had a high-level conversation about how businesses can be diversified, would you say that what we're learning now as entrepreneurs and, you know, literally forcing ourselves to also apply the digital conversation into our business strategies, would you say this is what we must stick to post-COVID, post-coronavirus?
Yes, I would say this, that Africa's, the program that has brought us together is the Africa Business Heroes initiative that the Jack Ma Foundation has put together. And there's a reason why they've selected this name, Heroes. It's because that in this situation and in this era, especially because of COVID, that entrepreneurs are going to be playing a very unique role in shaping our world of today and tomorrow. And that digital will be a very key part of that as well. And so I think it's beholden upon all of us in this community to really think about what role we all want to play to help our communities and our society as entrepreneurs. And I think that one of the things that will happen as a result of this is we're actually going to create a whole new world for our communities as a result of this situation. It's not easy. It's frightening at times. I'm very encouraged by the sharing that we had today and very impressed with so much of what they've done in such a short time. And I think that gives me hope, Anita, about the world ahead of us. I think that things are going to be very challenging, but at the same time, the heroes are the ones that carry us forward. And so I do hope that whether it's the learnings from this handbook, but also more importantly, the things that the entrepreneurs do to carry us forward, that we can really create a new future for everyone.
And I dare say with the handbook, we are ready. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where all our participants are from. And we look forward to having you in our later webinars. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we also have a poll up. You can, take a look at the poll results. Zara, I think you're in charge of the polls. I just lost mine. I'm not sure that we're able to grasp it just before I left the screen. You might bring it back.
It should be sharing now, but I can quickly say, so we have on here that 85% of the attendees want to know more about the competition. So I think before we wrap up, it will be a good time for us to quickly watch a video that gives some insights around how to apply and what it is you stand to gain. So we will now turn to the video. Thank you.
Wonderful.
We see you, African entrepreneur, and now the world needs to see you too. Are you ready to be a 2020 ANPI Africa's Business Hero? Are you an African entrepreneur? Is your business at least 3 years old? Are you ready to pitch your business to legends and tell your story? If you said yes to all these questions, it's your turn to apply now. Follow these 5 quick, easy steps to start your journey to becoming an ANPI Business Hero. Step 1. Set up an account. Fill in your details. Click register and you are 1 step in. Step 2. Read the guidelines carefully. Just visit africabusinessheroes.org and click on Application Guide. Step 3. The criteria for eligibility. Simple. Each applicant should be a founder or co-founder of the company. The applicant has African citizenship or is a direct descendant of an African citizen. Your company has to be registered, headquartered, and operated in an African country. Your company should be at its post-idea stage. Your business should be 3 years old or more and has at least 3 years of revenue history. Step 4. Get a reference. It could be your mentor, colleague, teacher, or advisor. And finally, step 5. Submit your application. Your application includes these 5 sections: founder profile, business profile, business deep dive, awards and recognition, and a video introduction. If you get stuck at any point, don't worry. Visit our application guide and frequently asked questions for help, or send an email to info@africabusinessheroes.org. Now, it's your turn to become a 2020 ANPI Business Hero and win a share of $1.5 million, admission into the Alibaba eFounders Fellowship, access to mentorship and training, and a chance to tell your story to Africa and the world. Apply now.
Great. I hope everyone now has more insights and will be applying. We highly recommend you visit the website. You'll have the opportunity to learn much more about the initiative and also about our upcoming webinars. So please do visit the website and sign up for the upcoming webinars, and importantly, apply now. Thank you very much. Anita, over to you.
And Zara, our programs and partnerships manager of the Alibaba Group with special focus on the ANPI, the African Enterprise Initiative. Thanks for always providing us with the necessary information, especially in view of the fact that you yourself have had to completely re-strategize and do that very quickly. I'm always very grateful for your effectiveness and your efficiency. Very, 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 very grateful.
Thank you. And I'd love to thank the Alibaba Global Initiative team for being on this call. Thank you to all the entrepreneurs, our e-founders, to our ANPI finalist, Ayo. Thank you so much for coming and making this as rich as you have.
Thank you. And to all our participants, remember, we have tons of webinars, tons of lessons to share with you, and especially important stories. I mean, in the face of any kind of crisis, the biggest inspiration is knowing that somebody actually understands what you're going through and somebody has actually walked the path and is willing to share their story. But most importantly, one of the things that a lot of us are going to have to do is re-strategize, replan, and rethink our businesses. And I strongly believe, just as our panelists have said, and Brian and Zara have said, that this is the moment to really face whatever crisis we are facing right now, with bold eyes, with boldness, with confidence, because we can do this. We may not necessarily be able to do it overnight, but we can do it, and we can change the course of our history. So thank you very much to all our participants for joining us. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where you are. My name is Anita Erskine, brand ambassador and host of the Africa Netpreneur Prize Initiative 2020. God bless everyone. Stay safe and stay home if you can. Goodbye.